IVM.
So welcome to another week on IVM. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. This week on Simplified in a Shorty, Naren and Shrikant simplify the phenomena of near-death experiences with interesting cases and scientific theories. On Pragati, Pawan and Hamsani are joined by economic policy expert Yazad Jal to discuss negative and positive rights. On The Scene and the Unseen, Amit Verma is joined by stand-up comedian Aditi Mittal and our production controller Swati to discuss misogyny and popular culture. On Pulyabazi, Saurabh and Pranay speak to Shruti Rajgopalan about the meaning and importance of property rights in India. This week on Shunya One, we have Suchita Salwan, founder and CEO of LBP, a local recommendations platform striving to discover all things new and old. On Hustle Science, Ranveer and Tejaswan speak to their buddy, tech entrepreneur and founder of Hello Inc., Angad Nadkarni, to understand his coding craze and a lot more about his stories. And now, on to your shows.
Hi,
You're
listening to IVM
Daily.
Hey, so welcome to a very special episode of IVM Daily. We have the amazing Kubra Sait with us. She has been, she's known as a presenter all over the country in many, many different spaces. But the reason we have with her and the reason we want to talk to her about is she played the most amazing part in Sacred Games. She played the dancer Kukoo, and we want to talk to her a little bit about that and how the whole how it came about and everything like that. So, hey, Kubra, great to see you.
Hey, thank you very much.
Yes.
It's really great to be here.
Yeah. So, you know what? I want to kind of just first start off with some very basic kind of informative stuff for people who
I thought
haven't.
like the plugins. Sacred Games. Ding, ding,
Well,
ding.
okay, you can do that as well.
I can roll in this background score for you.
But what I do want to ask you is, when you were making it, did you realize how awesome it was at what you were making?
No. I did not know how amazing it was because I barely had time to sink into the awesomeness of her. Also, for the first time, I saw the entire canvas of everyone and how everyone's life gets affected with the presence of Kukoo.
Right.
You know, the way they address her, the way they speak about her, the way Nawaz looks at her. And I must say Nawaz does not look like Nawaz. He is Guy Tonde. There couldn't be anybody better than him to play Guy Tonde. And the way he looks at Kukoo, the kind of respect, the love, he just put her on a pedestal, and I did not know that playing Kukoo would really turn my life around 360 degrees.
Right.
It's a somersault of extraordinary.
I can imagine that you're getting a ton of annoying questions these days.
Yeah, so I think once the story broke out about my character and they put out the first look of the character, which was already out in the trailer, but they had never felt it. That's what you said as well,
exactly.
right?
When I watched the movie, until it was made explicit, I did not realize it was a trans character.
Right.
I thought it was a female dancer.
Right. I have friends from different parts of the world going, that tranny is you, isn't it? I'm like, which show have you been watching? Then I had people calling me and saying, आपने वो transgender का role किया था ना? आपने आपको कैसे लगा? I said, नहीं sir, मैंने dancer का role किया है.
Right.
And it just feels, it just happens that she's transgender. So literally, the first switch in my brain went but aren't they human beings? So if I played the character of a dog, a cat, a cow, then you'd be like, madam, आपने एक बिल्ली का role किया है. But I played a human. So how? Why?
So what's amazing is that what you're describing right now is people othering the transgender role.
Yeah.
Right? But that is the exact opposite way of the way that you played it, because you played it in a very kind of personal, real kind of sense, right? And it's got to be aggravating to kind of get that kind of dissonance when you're getting questions from supposedly well-known media people.
But no, I'm not taking it away from them.
Right.
It's just the presentation, the portrayal of the third gender that we have in our society. I'm saying we've come a long way. It's liberating. It's very forward to have a character like Kukoo in the 80s.
Right.
Today you've got so many amazing people who are heading marches and protests and taking this as a sense of pride.
Right.
It's the first flicker of change.
Yep.
It hasn't happened instantly. The way I look at it is, if Kukoo existed today, she would be a change maker.
She would.
If she was hurt then, she could have been a change maker. So that was the kind of pride with which first I did the character.
Right.
The second thing was the writing. It was so real. Like for me, the writing was, if I have a heartbreak, it's going to be the same way a man is going to feel a heartbreak. It's the same way a third gender is going to feel heartbreak. How does heartbreak or how does fear of losing someone you love change because of the gender? And that's the pressure society has put on the male gender. Saying you can't cry. Tum aadmi hai, mard. No.
But what I thought really kind of made the character of Kukoo really real for me, right, was towards the end of her arc. I guess spoilers for whoever. But at that point in time, she was reluctant because she felt she was pulling down Ganesh Gayatonde because of the fact that people would see him with a transgender and not respect him correctly. And I thought that was like one of the most kind of real and most emotional kind of points of how the character was approached. And that's what really made her stand out, I think.
She was special, right? Because, as I said, if she existed today and she was empowered today, she could make a change. What she wore as her pride up her sleeve and called it her magic turned out to be the biggest bane.
Right.
Because she knew she couldn't give Gayatonde what a so-called normal setting of family would require.
Right.
She wouldn't be able to give him children. So emotionally, that's the only thing. Imagine when someone believes that, oh, that's really not a pigeon in a box.
Yeah.
It's so sad. It's not a rabbit out of the hat. It's like, shit. It just hurts you so hard because it's so close to home. Right. And I remember a friend of mine watched the show and he called me and said, you die sometime soon, right? You die sometime. I'm like, yeah. No, man, it's my favorite character. It's like my favorite character from Game of Thrones dying, man.
No, but it really was effective, right? I mean, because if you look at the major characters in this movie, there weren't that many deaths per se, right? I mean, well, actually,
everyone dies.
Well, some sort of.
Which show were you watching?
Sure. I mean, I don't want to spoil everything, right? So I guess, but up until that point, right? I mean, there was only one death in the start from the main characters, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I thought that it was kind of also an interesting choice that, I mean, this was the character who died and the way that she died, right? I thought that was so. It was in the circumstances. Again, I don't know how much we should spoil this for people. Let's just spoil it, right?
It's on Netflix. If you haven't watched it, I'm really sorry. You should have watched it on the first date.
There you go. That's the way to look
Thank
at
you.
It. Yes.
That's my plug, yo.
The fact that she died during an attack, right? Or rather, that's when her body was discovered. I thought that was just kind of so heartbreaking in some ways, right? I mean, because she didn't die in the attack, but she died at the same time as the attack. And it was like, oh my God, that's
so many layers, right? Yeah. Which is what I'm talking about, the writing. Also, I remember when I was finalized for this character, I ran to a bookshop to pick up Sacred Games because I didn't want to be like the only person who didn't know what this book was all about.
Right.
So I picked up the book and I paid for the book and then I went through the index of the characters and Kukoo wasn't there.
Oh, really? Okay.
So Kukoo is just like a mention. She's a breeze. She's a passing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
That guy, met her dance bar. Okay, finished.
Huh.
But imagine the writers of our show. I'm talking about Varun, Anurag, who believed that this character could evolve. And there could be so much.
I think that without this character, the show is a plain cops and robbers show. I really do. And it's a good cops and robbers show. But with this character, it kind of takes it to the next degree of oh wow, this is something.
It's this character that shows the vulnerability of Gayatonde.
Exactly.
I find it when I watched the show, right? I was filming for it, but I didn't feel it.
Right.
Because it was okay, get done with this. And there was so much pressure that you can't get it wrong. But when you watch the show, it's, when he's sitting with her and he says, ye Isa sabko aise hi public mein kiss karta hai kya? It is so cute.
Right.
A Gayatonde will never ask anybody else that outside.
Right.
But that's how open he
There was
is to ask Kukoo this.
Right.
You know, and then she just kisses him and she says, "Aise hello bolte." You know, it's so nice.
Wow. Okay. You know what? I didn't actually get that part of it because at that point in time, I had no realization that it was a trans character, right? So to me, it was just like, it felt like he was making fun of the Arabic tradition of kissing on the cheek.
Right.
And then Kukoo was like, yeah, it's like, you know, I didn't really get it now. Now that you're saying it, I'm getting it because layers.
Yeah, right. There's so many layers to this character. The writing is so progressive. I didn't know I was going to be a part of history. This is historic.
It absolutely is.
And I know people will have bouquets and brickbats to the show, which is fair. It happens in any creative product that you create and put it out there.
Right.
But this, without a speck of doubt, has created history. I mean, simple things like 2 directors. Okay, coming together, directing every episode together, and you can't say which director directed which.
Exactly. And I loved also the way that from the show perspective, right? And again, you were mostly in the Gayatonde.
Yeah, so Anurag
part, right?
directed.
Right. But I love the way those 2 things are so kind of contrasting in different ways, right? I mean, like, at the same time, it's part of a whole.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, I mean, like, the way that the 80s and 90s portions were shot and the way that the current day portions were shot, completely different in some ways.
Beautifully done. No?
Pacing is completely different. You know, I mean, like, the way that the way they're shot, like, the colors are completely different. It was just wonderfully done.
When he talks about how he left his village, went, and then he came to Bombay, the facade of Bombay is today, but he immediately takes you down to where he arrived.
Right.
So nicely done.
Just beautifully put together. I mean, like, it was just a fantastic movie. So, any thoughts on what's next in terms of, well, I mean, like, not you in Sacred Games, but for you just generally?
I think that's something I'm unable to answer right now. Honestly, because I never chose Kukoo.
Right.
You can never choose or dream to do a role like this.
Right.
It happens to you, and I think it was something more than destiny.
Right.
So yes, this is like the happiest coincidence of my life. And if my mother has to turn around and say, finally, after so many years of me working, I felt pride. And my mother's always said, I feel blessed.
Right.
So she's finally said, I feel pride in what she's done. I think it's now time for me to... The only thing that I can do right is, one, to continue to hone my skill. I'm not a trained actor.
Right.
So what I'm going to do is invest time in learning how to act.
Right.
Firstly.
Right.
Because I can't seem to pull a bluff on everyone's eye. If this was a bluff, then...
I think you were amazing in the
Thank
show.
you.
So, I mean, like, I don't think that...
No, this is just me being as honest as I can.
Course,
right? Because
course.
So Anurag tells me the same thing. He says, "Teko abhi nahi pata na tune kya kiya hai." And I'm like, no. And he says, don't change that about you, because once you realize Kukoo ka jadoo kya hai, then you'll fuck it up for yourself. So right now my whole thing is to hone my craft.
Right.
And also be selective about what, because now I know things will come to me.
Yes.
I can feel the universe bringing me things.
Yeah, absolutely.
And when it does, it's my responsibility to skim that and pick valuable work. That's all.
If the best stuff doesn't come to you, I would be shocked. Because seriously, this is one of the best performances I've ever seen by an Indian actress ever.
Thank you. Yes. I thought, so everyone says, why was it so daring? But it was not a challenge I was putting up to anybody.
Right.
Honestly, it was an opportunity that came to me and I grabbed it.
I'm glad you did. It was such a great show.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. And so everybody, please make sure that you catch Sacred Games on Netflix. I could not recommend that show more highly. I think it's got like some ridiculous 9.8.
9.8, right?
Yeah, on IMDb.
It's higher than Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Ha!
So please, definitely go check it out. Yep.
Yay!
Did I just catch you on your way to work? Or did you end up pulling an all-nighter? Let me guess. You have a packed schedule for the day, the week, and probably the month and the year. That's a lot for your mind to handle, don't you think? This buzzing chaos also brings tons of negative thoughts. Am I right? Try spinning that bottle in a positive direction with me, Chetna, on the Positively Unlimited podcast, every Monday on IVM Podcasts. It's time to change your life one alphabet at a time.